Good morning. Today we'll be saying our farewell to the book of Job. We're looking at Job chapter 40, verses 7 to 14, and chapter 42, verses 1 to 6. God draws Job's attention to his pride, and Job finally replies. I'll turn you around so you can see the text that I'm reading. Yahweh, you responded to Job. Stand to attention now and answer me. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to prove I am unfair? Do you think you can put me in the wrong and yourself in the right? Are you more powerful than me? Can your voice thunder like mine? Stand up in your honor and pride, decked in glory and majesty if you can, and see if you can pour out your anger and humble the proud. Yes, just look at them, demolish them and crush them where they stand. Bury them and restrain them in the abode of the dead. If you can do that, I'll be the first to applaud you. I'll admit that you have personally triumphed. Job answered Yahweh, Yahweh, I admit that you are all-powerful and have complete freedom of action. How do I dare, in my great ignorance, to question your wisdom, you ask? I admit I've talked about things beyond my understanding and marvels too complicated for me to know. Yes, you did tell me to listen to you and try to answer your questions. At first I only knew what others had told me. But now I have seen you with my own eyes. I'm ashamed of my answers and repent in dust and ashes. Job's insistence that his punishment was unfair played out in an astonishingly subtle way. He both is and isn't justified, and that's how the book of Job leaves it. From his arguments, he has demonstrated that his critics are significantly wrong in their attitude to suffering and pain. These can no longer simply be regarded as punishments for human ignorance or willful disobedience to God's laws. God has been shown clearly as the first cause of everything, and therefore also, ultimately, the source of human suffering. But God remains God. God remains God, and his purposes are not transparently obvious to humans. So, although Job has shown that God is responsible, it is beyond human wits to tell why some suffer and others don't. It will take an Isaiah to describe the redemptive power of suffering, but Job has paved the way. Here at the end, he stands to attention before God and has to admit that God is God and Job just isn't. God holds all the cards and can defeat anyone because he is almighty and no one else is. Job has shown God to the world in a new light with a deeper understanding. And once he has allowed God to be God, once he has, as he says, seen you with my own eyes, then all there is left is to admit that we are what we are, and as Job puts it, repent in dust and ashes, because neither Job nor we have got all the answers. Now, a scribe editing this work in the distant past felt that there was a need to explain and to provide a happy outcome, a happy ending. This person added the last 10 verses to the book of Job. These form an epilogue in which God explains to Job's friends, I'm cross with you for not telling the truth about me, but Job did. And he asks Job to pray for them, to avoid the disgrace they deserve. Then Job is given his prosperity back in greater abundance than before, new property, a beautiful new family, the restoration of his friends, and a life long enough for Job to know his great-grandchildren. Happy endings are all very well, but they aren't always available in real life, and they are nothing compared with the theological and philosophical progress made in these dialogues by this anonymous writer in the 6th century BC. Because of the Book of Job, we are likely to be less superstitious about the causes of suffering and misfortune, and much more reluctant to put the blame on those who are suffering for causing their own troubles. Tomorrow, on day 170, we begin a series of studies of some of the highest literature of old Israel, the ancient poetry, the wisdom literature, and the apocalypses that we find in the Bible. For the next week, we will begin by looking at the different kinds of psalms we find in the Old Testament. And I'll see you tomorrow to begin that.